Hi guys, this is JP from FSiPanel. Yesterday I've made a video on how to set a star on the Phoenix A320 for a correct arrival, and I got a comment asking me to show you that as well on the PMDG 737. The 737 FMC has some very specific particularities, and if you don't set some specific stuff that I will show you, the aircraft will not descend and you will not have a descent profile. So we are sitting right now on ground in Gatwick 26 left, and we will set up the following star together. I will show you that right now. So this is the star we will set up, the Kunav 1 Golf arrival. So we will position ourselves just southeast of Hamdout at flight level 160. So for FSiPanel we have different options to do that. I will show you with the star feature. So we'll select that star and we will select that waypoint, and we will put ourselves 5 miles southeast on heading 308, and then we will program our FMC to fly this arrival to Timbat, and from Timbat we will follow the Timbat transition via May to fly the ILS 26 left. So let's do that together and let's start FSiPanel. Here we go, FSiPanel has been started. As you can see, we are in Gatwick on way 26 left on the PMDG 737-700. So what I will do is select fix. Of course, you could use select waypoint and insert directly the waypoint, but I will show you via select star, which has some altitude restriction. So that should help us. So select star. Now we said we would like to have the Kunav 1 Golf, which is that one right there. And we decided that we would be 5 miles southeast of the position Hamdout. So when I click on Hamdout, you can see that FSiPanel see that restriction of at 16,000 feet, which is that restrictions there, 160 at Hamdout. So we will just change the heading. We want to be 308 and 5 miles southeast. So to do that in FSiPanel, very easy. Just change your heading by clicking on it. We want 308, 16,000. We are happy with that, and 5 nautical miles. So we should be 5 nautical miles southeast of Hamdout. If I validate this, now I have the summary right there, and now I can click move aircraft and we will see ourselves in the simulator. Let's go. Now FSiPanel will position the aircraft. So as always here, do not touch anything, or you might interfere with the positioning and then we might have something not running as expected. So just give FSiPanel some time. It usually takes less than a minute and you will be ready to fly. All right, we can see now that 16,000 and the MCDU is being programmed, and FSiPanel will not set the star arrival. So remember that FSiPanel only set the ILS approach if an ILS approach is available for the runway, which is the case on Gatwick, sorry. So we see already that we have this 26 left there. Right, so now FSiPanel will position us correctly to 16,000 feet, and at high altitude it might take a little longer than at low altitude, but at this time just stand by and wait for that. I will accelerate the video and we see each other when the aircraft is ready. All right, we are reaching 16,000 feet, alt acquired. We already have the message from FSiPanel that the aircraft is ready. And now one thing I want to mention as well is that FSiPanel will always set your altitude based on the QNH. Now 16,000 feet is above transition altitude, so we should be flying standard. So what you should do now is push standard, and do that when you have the control, otherwise you will screw up the positioning. So make sure when FSiPanel tell you hold your brake for 3 seconds, so now FSiPanel is not monitoring anything anymore on your aircraft. So just go standard, and now you can see that we are slightly lower than flight level 160. So we will climb to 160. That's the correct altitude where we should be at. So we'll be at 160. Now you can see that standard easy number, and I will show you exactly why now. Alt acquired, and now we will program our arrival in Gatwick. All right, so now as you can see on the screen, we just have the ILS programmed by FSiPanel. So let's go ahead and do the programmation of our star arrival. So if you go departure arrival, you see Gatwick arrival. Now we always start by selecting the runway where we will fly in. So we're going to fly in ILS 26 left. Now on the left hand side, you will have to select the star. So in our case, we said we will fly the Cunard 1 Golf. So it's right there. And then when you click on that star, now you get the transition on the right hand side. And we said we will go via Timba. So now I have selected my arrival, and we can cross-check everything. Cunard 1 Golf via Timba for the ILS 26 left. Now if I execute that and I go in the next page, you can see Cunard is the first waypoint, but this is not correct. We said we would like to be 5 miles southeast of Hamdout. So now if I take Hamdout and I put it on top, we can see that we are exactly 5 miles, and you can see it as well there on the screen. So this is exactly what we program in FSiPanel. So let me execute that. And now this is where we have sometimes issues. If you look now in your map display, you can see that the routing is perfect. The aircraft will fly in LNAV, but will never start a descent. If you go to progress page, you can see that we are missing here top of descent. So basically now if I push LNAV, the aircraft will fly the whole arrival, but will never have a descent profile in VNAV. So this is where we have to program a few things in the 737 FMC, and you should do that anytime you plan to use VNAV for a non-precision approach or now for the arrival. Right, so how do we do that? If you go to cruise page, you can see that the FMC needs a reference. From which altitude do you want to descend? What is right now your cruising altitude? So the FMC is missing that very important information. So we are just going to type in 160. Execute. And now that we have typed in 160, if I go to prox page, you can see that we should start descent. Now we have a profile. That's one thing to do. Another thing to do, you see that we have standard, which is in amber. So what you can do is to change you go in descent, forecast, and now you see the transition level. So now the transition level, you have to find that from your chart. So let's have a look if we can find this in the Navigraph chart for Gatwick. As you can see there, the transition level is by ATC. So we will assume that the transition level, because we are coming from flight level, is 60. So we will change our flight level 180, which is the common, which is the one we use in the US, by 60 or whatever you find in the ATIS. Normally the ATIS will tell you what is the transition level. So let's change that to 60. So here we're just gonna put transition at flight level 60, and now you see that the standard is now green. Everything is fine. Great, so now we have a correct descent path, we have a correct lateral path. If you want to check your whole routing, I suggest you to go plan, and in plan, if you go to legs page, now you have a very easy way to check all the waypoint. As you can see, we have Hamdout, which is in front of us 5 miles, and you can add as well if you want some station. Usually what I set myself is station, airport, and data. Data will give you the time that you will reach the waypoint, and as well if there is a restriction. So now that we are here, we could move step by step and check our arrival to make sure we comply with the arrival. And if everything is fine, then we are ready to fly. All right, so let's go back in map mode. And now we can fly. So the only thing I have to do is to hold my brake for 3 seconds. LNAV, VNAV, and now we are in VNAV altitude because we are already too high. So let's dial in ATC instruction to descend to fly level 110. Let's go level change. And now the aircraft will descend. The idea is to catch your descent profile there. So right now we are 700 and around 800 feet too high. So let's the aircraft descend there and we will catch the correct path. Let's do that together. What you can do as well is increase your speed. That will increase the rate of descent in level change. And the idea is to reduce the gap that we have between the correct profile and what we are flying right now. So you see that now by increasing my speed in level change, I'm increasing my rate of descent and I'm reducing here the gap. As soon as you are within 400 feet, the diamond will go up. So now I can again reduce my speed. And when we are within limit, you can arm VNAV. And now what you want to see on your screen is VNAV path. Nothing else than this. Now when you have VNAV path, the aircraft will fly the whole arrival to your runway. So now you just have to take care of your speed, make sure that your speed is not too high, and as well the restrictions. So all these restrictions, 4,000 or above, if I will set 3,000 now in my window, the 737 will maintain 4,000 feet as long as you are flying in VNAV. So if ATC asks you to expedite descent for some reason and you use level change, be very, very, very careful with those restrictions because she will not maintain these restrictions. So as long as you have a constant descent, don't worry about it. Just set the altitude to whatever you need to. Like for this example here, we will fly the approach 26 left. If I look on my chart, I can see that at the final approach fix for runway 26 left, that should be at 2,000 feet. So if I have no ATC and I'm just practicing, I could already set 2,000 feet right there. And now my 737 will basically fly your arrival. Now we have this point. You see that dot, green dot? Now we are flying 270 knots. And this is when the 737 will start to reduce the speed toward 240 knots below 10,000 feet. So let's see that now. You see that the aircraft is pitching up, but this is computed by the FMC, so we are not losing too much altitude. The speed will drop to 240 knots, and then she will continue the descent at 240 knots. That second point is when she expects to be at 240 knots. So we can see now nicely the speed is dropping. We are still on path, and you can see suddenly the speed will drop to 240 and we will resume a descent with idle. Coming close. So this is something you have to check as well for the ATC restrictions, 250 knots or below at 10,000 feet. We have 240 and now she will start descending. You can see already that she's pitching down. Next interesting point is the decel. You see the decel right there. So we have speed restriction and she will compute when she has to slow down. So this decel is basically when the speed will drop to up speed and when you will need to add flaps. So if you fly in LNAV, VNAV like I'm doing now, nothing to do. Just enjoy the ride. Make sure you program your approach. You set your minima. You have plenty of time, and decel is the time you will need to reduce the speed. So very easy. Just follow what she tells you and you will reach your runway without any issue. So on the 737, remember that we need to set by yourself the ILS frequency. So if I go to init ref, I can see that FSiPanel has selected flaps 30 for landing. And this is the ILS frequency for 26 left, 110.9258. So this is what we will set. It's already set by FSiPanel 110.9, 110.9, and the course should be 258, 258, 258. We are good. And we will just need to set our minima. So let's have a look at the minima quickly. All right, so the minima for Cat 1 is 396. So we'll set 396. We have the minima. Good, now we are approaching decel point. So as I told you just before, now the aircraft will reduce the speed toward up, minimum clean speed, and she will not go lower. She will ask you for the flaps. So let's see how that works. We have decel right there. So if I go to the next page, we can see the next restriction is 4,000 or above at Timba. Timba is coming there, so she should maintain 4,000 feet. And now you can see that the speed is dropping to up speed. Track miles to landing, we have around 30 miles. So on the 7.3, you can come up to 15 miles in up speed. You will have no issue to land. Most of the time you will get ATC speed restrictions due to the traffic around the airport. But if you're alone, you can practice slowing down your aircraft as you like. So here we can see that she's perfectly doing well the altitude restriction at Timba. And if we go for the next one, we're gonna have May at 4,000 feet. So that was 4,000 feet or above. So you can see that she's crossing at 6.0. But now this is 4,000 hard limit. Another thing, now we pass the transition level. So if I don't do anything, when we are 300 feet below transition level, I will get, again, an amber warning. Hey guys, you're in the wrong altimeter setting. All right, good. So we are going to put now our QNH for Gatwick 1018, and we will do the approach check right there. Okay, 4,000 feet, and she's gliding down in idle. This is a perfect descent. After the 4,000 feet, she will descend to 2,000 feet whenever needed, because she already has here the authority to do it. But she should not go below 4,000 feet at Mayfield here. So let's see that. Everything works perfectly well. You see that she's flying since the beginning of the star by herself, and I'm just monitoring what she's doing for this arrival. So now we are going 4,000 feet at 4,000 feet at Mayfield. So let's see. Perfectly well, nicely done by PMDG with the VNAV. And then we will turn for the final segment to establish ourselves on the ILS-26 left. In London, they have a constant descent procedure. So if what you're supposed to do is to have a constant descent, if possible, in idle, to make minimum drag, minimum noise for the arrival. So we will try this now. This 4,000 feet we will have to maintain. So you see we stay in VNAV path. Very important to see VNAV path. If this changed to anything else like VNAV alt or altitude, then she will not continue descent. So we are now in VNAV path. Everything works well. She's maintaining 220 knots because that's the restrictions that we have right there. The next restriction that we can see there is 138. Basically, this is my approach speed plus 5 knots, 133 plus 5, 138. This is what she shows at the final fix here. So now if you want to slow down the aircraft, two options. Either you take speed intervene and now you reduce your speed right there, or you use some flaps and then she will go to flaps 1 bug. You see the decel point here again. This is, if I don't do anything, this is where she will ask me for flaps 1. And we can see that she will overshoot the intercept. If I don't want this, I have to reduce my speed. So if I go CF26 left, 167, I could reduce that speed there, and then she will not do that. So let's see now how she's doing the turn here. Let's see if we try that for the demonstration. If I put 145 knots here, execute. Now you see there is VNAV path, and that should change a little bit our drawing. It didn't, but what is nice is that the decel point come a little bit forward, which is perfect. And now you will see that at that decel point, the speed will drop to up speed, and this is where we start configuring the aircraft for landing. So now I'm doing everything without thinking, just for the demonstration to show you the 737 capability. Now you see the spin dropping. This is the right time to go flaps 1. So flaps 1. Now when we go flaps 1, the bug goes automatically to 1. We wait for flaps 1 green light. Now I could arm the approach. If we are clear for the approach, let's arm the approach. Now flaps 1 is there. We can go flaps 5. We have localizer captured. So we can set 258 here. Flaps 5. See, we're still descending in VNAV. We are established on localizer. Glide slope is coming alive. 10 miles out in flaps 5. Next step will be gear down flaps 15. Usually we do that just before intercepting the glide slope, not to add too much drag, and then we need to add a lot of thrust. So let's wait for the glide slope to be coming, and then we will lower the gear and set flaps 15. Another thing we need to check is the missed approach altitude, so let's have a look at that. So missed approach altitude, straight ahead, passing 2000, we turn left as directed. So 2000 feet is our missed approach altitude. Sorry, climb to 3000. 3000 feet is our missed approach altitude right there. So let's do that. We wait for the glide, and we will set 3000 feet whenever the glide slope is captured. 8 miles. We are at 2000 feet, the runway is in front of us. As soon as you see your glide moving, you can go gear down flaps 15. Okay, glide slope is coming, so gear down, flaps 15, arm speed brake, and we are going to set the light for the arrival. Another thing, be careful now, we are still in VNAV path, so you see the speed has reduced to bug 15. If we catch up the glide slope, which is going to happen now, the window will open here, and you will be then responsible for the speed. So let me show you that. What's happening now when we get glide slope captured. VNAV path will change in glide slope, and as we are not anymore flying with VNAV, glide slope, the window open, and now I am responsible for the speed. So I'll go now flaps 30. And now it's my responsibility to slow down the aircraft for landing with VRF 138. Glide slope has been captured, missed approach altitude is set. And now we will run the landing checklist. Landing checklist, engine start switches, they are continuous. Speed brake is armed, and we have the light right there. Landing gear is down, and finally flaps, we have 30 green light. So now the aircraft is perfectly well stabilized on the 26 left. Up to 800 feet, radio altimeter, you could engage the second autopilot. This is the latest you can do. Usually we do it before, because at 1300 and something we have an assessment by the aircraft for a Cat 3 auto land. So if I press now my second command, I will not get the auto land capability until a few seconds before 800, and now we got the flare arm, so she can do an auto land. Right, 1000 feet, we are stabilized, missed approach altitude is set, now we will go for the landing. Alright, let's go. Continue land. Sorry guys, because my joystick were not calibrated normally, so that's why.
50, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, speed brake up. Reverse is normal, and we will just stop right there. Yes, sorry for the landing. What happened there is I didn't have the right profile in FSU IPC, so I was not able to disconnect my autopilot and auto throttle by just clicking on the joystick. So this is why I had to go and do that manually, which unstabilized a little bit the approach. All right, this was to show you how you can fly a star and how you set up your FMC to have a complete descent profile on your 737. I hope I answer all your questions. If you have any more questions or comments, please drop it below in the comment section and I will answer your question. Thank you very much guys for flying with FSiPanel, and if you didn't subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye bye.